Welcome to Heartbreak Chronicles. A text message from an unfamiliar number caused Marcus' blood to instantly freeze. Your house. Now, your children are not safe. He left the car engine he was working on in his hands, and his oily hands trembled as he dialed the home number. No response. His heart beating wildly, he rushed to the pickup parked outside the garage. As a mechanic, his income was steady but not lucrative, yet he never thought anyone would threaten his family. The 15-minute drive felt like a century. When he finally burst through the door of his home, the sight before him froze him in his tracks. His wife, Elena, stood in the center of the living room, her face as pale as paper, her mascara leaving black marks on her cheeks. His brother David blocked the stairs to the upper floors with his hands in the air. "Don't go upstairs, Marcus." David's voice was filled with panic. "It's bad there, a mess." Elena suddenly lunged forward and grabbed Marcus' arm. "They forced me. Please, don't look in the kids' room." Anger and fear mingled in Marcus' mind. He pushed past David and sprinted up the stairs in 3 steps. Elena's desperate screams came from behind her. He first pushed open the door to his 8-year-old son Tommy's room, empty. Then there was 6-year-old daughter Lily's room, also empty. Panic came like a tidal wave until he reached the guest room at the end of the hallway. Taking a deep breath, he turned the doorknob. The sight inside froze him in place. His 2 children were sitting on the floor, playing a board game, completely unharmed. Standing beside them is a man Marcus knows, Robert Chun, the owner of the real estate company where Elena works. "Dad." Lily jumped up and tried to run to him, but Robert gently squeezed her shoulder. "Marcus," Robert said calmly, "we need to talk. Let go of my daughter." Marcus' voice was low and dangerous. Robert held up his hands and stepped back. "The kids are safe. I just need your attention. Tommy, Lily, come to me," Marcus ordered. The 2 children quickly ran to their father. "Go to your rooms and lock the doors," he said softly. The children, sensing the tension in the atmosphere, silently complied. When the children's footsteps died down, Marcus turned to Robert. "You have 30 seconds to explain why you're in my house and why you threatened my family." Robert pulled an envelope out of his pocket and threw it on the bed. "Look at these and you'll understand." Marcus warily picked up the envelope, which contained a stack of photographs. When he read the contents, it felt like the whole world was spinning. The photos are of Elena and Robert in various intimate scenes. Hand-holding in restaurants, hugs in the office, and even more revealing hotel room photos. The date stamp shows that these photos span 2 years. 2 years, Robert said. "I've been with Elena for 2 years." Marcus's fists clenched. Downstairs, Elena's sobbing was clearly audible. "Why tell me now?" Marcus forced himself to stay calm. Because she wanted closure, Robert's tone was tinged with bitterness. "Talking about guilt, about keeping the family together for the sake of the kids. But I don't accept it." David finally came upstairs and stood in the doorway. "Marcus, calm down. We can fix this." Marcus turned to his brother. "You know, David's silence is the answer." "How long?" Marcus asked. "For months," David admitted. "I tried to convince Elena to end it, but..." "But what?" Marcus' voice was as sharp as a blade. "But she said she loved him." Elena's voice came from the stairway. She stood there, tearful but with an expression of relief. In that moment, something inside Marcus completely shattered. 10 years of marriage, 2 children, countless nights of working overtime for the sake of the family, all reduced to nothing. "Get out," he said to Robert, at once. "This isn't over," Robert warned. "Elena is mine, no matter what she says now. If you ever come near my family again," Marcus' voice was frighteningly calm, "I will make you regret being born into this world." Robert hesitated and eventually left. David followed him, glancing back at Marcus before he left with an apologetic look in his eyes. The only people left in the guest room are Marcus and Elena. "I can explain," Elena began. "No," Marcus interrupted her, "you can't. 2 years, Elena. 700 days and nights of lies. I never thought it would happen," she sobbed. "It just did." "No," Marcus shook his head. "Betrayal isn't just happening. Every time you chose to see him, every time you made up lies, every time you came home to face me and the kids, that was a choice." Elena is paralyzed on the floor. "I know I ruined everything. Marcus, for the children's sake. Don't." His voice was as cold as ice. "Don't you dare use the children to excuse your betrayal." Marcus walks to the window and looks out at the quiet suburban street. His thoughts were unusually clear. The anger was still there, but it had transformed into something calmer and more dangerous: determination. "You have a week to find a place to stay," he said, not looking back, "during which time you may see the children, but only in my presence." "Marcus, please. I'll contact a lawyer. We will discuss custody, property division, and everything will be done according to the legal process." He finally turned to face her. "But Elena, listen carefully. It's not just our marriage you're ruining. What you've destroyed is every ounce of emotion I had for you. From this day on, you're just the mother of my children to me. That's all." Elena stands up and tries to get closer to him, but Marcus takes a step back. "I'll go check on the kids," he said, "and you'd better start packing." Over the next few days, Marcus acted unusually calm. He went to work as usual, picked up the kids, and even attended Lily's school play. But underneath this calm surface, an elaborate plan for revenge is taking shape. He first contacts private investigator Sandra Miller, an ex-cop known for her thoroughness and ruthlessness. In her modest office in the center of town, Marcus spread out the photos Robert had given him. "I need everything," Marcus said. "Every meeting, every deal, every detail. I want to know how and when they started, and what other things they did while betraying me." Sandra studied the photo carefully, her professional eye immediately noticing details. "The quality of these photos are professional and don't look like they were taken surreptitiously. And the angles and timing are precise." "What do you mean?" "Someone has been watching them, collecting evidence. The question is who and why." Sandra looked up at Marcus. "These pictures aren't evidence, they're weapons. Someone is trying to destroy your marriage or destroy your wife, and this Robert." This discovery complicates Marcus's plans for revenge. There is a deeper conspiracy than just a simple affair. "I need you to investigate everyone," Marcus said. "Elena, Robert, even David. I need to know who's manipulating this." "It takes time and money," Sandra warns. "I have the time, I'll figure out the money. I want all of them to pay." After leaving Sandra's office, Marcus began systematically organizing the family's financial records. Being a meticulous person, he saved every receipt, every bank statement. Soon, an alarming pattern emerges. Unusual charges on Elena's credit card always show up on days when she claims to be working overtime. Hotel expenses, expensive restaurant bills, records of jewelry store purchases, and even men's watches and perfumes. What angers Marcus the most is that she paid for these expenses from their joint savings account. She financed her betrayal of him with his hard-earned money. Marcus photographed all the evidence and categorized it. Each receipt is evidence of Elena's betrayal and ammunition for his revenge plan. The next day, Marcus took a vacation and began his investigation. He first went to the real estate company where Elena worked. As a tinkerer, he is easily overlooked and can be observed without drawing attention to himself. He waited in the company parking lot for 3 hours, observing the comings and goings of employees. When Elena and Robert appear together, their body language clearly expresses their relationship. Robert's hand brushed Elena's back, and she smiled at him in a way Marcus had never seen before, with an expression that was both intimate and longing. Marcus felt a wave of nausea at the sight. It's not just physical betrayal, it's emotional. Elena gives Robert what she never gave Marcus, a total devotion and adoration. He snapped more pictures and then followed them to an upscale restaurant. Through the glass windows of the restaurant, he saw them raise their glasses in celebration of something. Elena's left hand glittered with a ring Marcus had never seen before, not a wedding band, but some kind of symbol of commitment. Anger burned in Marcus' chest, but he forced himself to remain calm. Emotional reactions only undermine his plans. Back at his temporarily rented apartment that night, Marcus begins to formulate a detailed strategy for revenge. He puts a picture of Elena and Robert on the wall and writes underneath it the price they need to pay. For Elena, loss of custody of her children, loss of property division rights, and total destruction of her social reputation. For Robert, destruction of career, destruction of personal relationships, legal consequences. To David, loss of brotherhood, loss of any place in Marcus' life. A week later, Sandra brought in the first results of the in-depth survey. "Your wife's lover is interesting," she said, spreading out a thick folder. "Robert Shun, ostensibly a successful real estate developer, but digging deeper there are a lot of problems." "What's the problem?" Marcus pursued. Financial issues. His company overextended itself, and several projects failed. He desperately needs an infusion of money, and it's huge. Sandra turned over a bank record. What's even more interesting is that over the last 6 months, there have been some large amounts of money flowing into his account from an unknown source. Marcus frowned. You mean Elena's paying him off? It's probably not just Elena's money. Your wife was recently promoted to CFO of the company, correct? She has access to company accounts. Chills crawled up Marcus's spine. Are you saying she's embezzling company funds? I can't say for sure, but some of the money flows are suspicious. A deeper investigation is needed to confirm that. Sandra handed him another file. One more thing. Those initial photos, I tracked down the source. What was found? They come from a man named Alexander Voss. He hired professional private investigators to spy on your wife and Robert. Marcus has never heard that name. Why would he do that? That's what we need to find out. But Marcus, this Voss is no ordinary man. He has a criminal background and connections to some very dangerous people. That night, Marcus sat in his apartment and pondered this new information. Things were more complicated than he thought. It's not just a simple affair, but a complex web of money, crime, and dangerous people. But it also means he has more weapons at his disposal to destroy Elena and Robert. His plans began to become more sophisticated and brutal. First, he needs to confirm that Elena is actually embezzling company funds. If so, she's facing criminal charges, which would completely ruin her life. Second, he needed to find out what motivated Alexander Voss. Why would someone with a criminal background expose Elena's affair? In the end, he needs to systematically destroy Robert's career and reputation to make sure he pays for seducing Marcus' wife. Marcus began to feel a sense of power he had never experienced before. For many years, he has been an honest, hardworking, ordinary man. But betrayal changed him, unleashing the dark side within. He's going to make everyone who betrayed him regret their choices. Over the next few days, Marcus began to execute the first phase of his plan. He used his position as Elena's husband to gain legal access to her bank records and credit card statements. He also contacted an attorney who specializes in white-collar crime to prepare for possible legal action. Meanwhile, Sandra continues her investigation. She discovers that Robert's real estate company is indeed in serious financial trouble, that several large projects have suffered failures, and that investors are suing him. More importantly, she confirmed that Elena was indeed embezzling company funds. Over the past 6 months, more than $300,000 has been skillfully transferred out of the company's accounts and into a series of shell companies and ultimately into accounts controlled by Robert. How did she do it? Marcus asked Sandra. Very clever maneuvering, Sandra explains. She used the authority of her position to create fraudulent payment documents purporting to be payments to contractors and vendors. But these companies either don't exist or are shell companies controlled by Robert. Does she know it's a crime? Judging by the complexity of the operation, she definitely knew. This was not an unintentional mistake, but a well-planned theft. Marcus felt a wave of mixed emotions. There was anger, a sense of betrayal, but also a strange sense of satisfaction. Not only did Elena betray their marriage, she became a criminal. It gave him all the ammunition he needed to destroy her. Do we have enough evidence to report to the prosecutor? Marcus asked. Absolutely. But you need to consider how this will affect your children. If Elena is indicted, this will become public record. Marcus thought about Tommy and Lily. They are already traumatized by the separation of their parents, and the damage will be even greater if the mother is sent to prison. But on the other hand, Elena needs to suffer the consequences of her crimes. I need to make sure my children are protected, Marcus said. But Elena has to pay for her behavior. We continue to gather evidence, but we'll hold off on calling the police for now. I need to take care of other things first. Marcus' next target is Robert Chen. As a successful businessman, Robert's reputation was crucial to his career. Marcus decided to systematically destroy that reputation. He began contacting Robert's clients and partners, suggesting that Robert might have financial problems and misconduct. As a regular mechanic, Marcus seems harmless enough that people are more likely to take him at his word. I was just concerned, Marcus told a large client. My wife works for them and she mentioned some financial problems. I thought you should know. This strategy is very effective. Soon rumors of Robert's company's financial problems began to spread in business circles. Some investors began to demand audits and partners began to reconsider their agreements. At the same time, Marcus contacted Robert's ex-girlfriends and business associates to gather more information that could be used against him. He discovers that Robert has a pattern of always targeting wealthy women and taking advantage of their feelings and resources. Elena is just his latest victim. Marcus began anonymously sending messages to Robert's other victims telling them about Elena and advising them to check their financial records. Soon, more women begin to realize that they are being used by Robert. The web of vengeance begins to tighten. 2 weeks later, dramatic events occurred. Robert's real estate company was sued by investors who accused him of misappropriating investment funds. Meanwhile, 3 ex-girlfriends have joined forces to accuse him of emotional fraud and financial fraud. To make matters worse, the company Elena works for begins an internal audit that will soon reveal the missing funds. Marcus sat in his makeshift office, listening to Sandra's report over the phone, feeling a deep sense of satisfaction. Robert's world is falling apart, Sandra reports. His company's stock has plummeted, banks have frozen his assets, and even his home mortgage may be foreclosed. Where's Elena? Marcus asked. She doesn't know about the audit yet, but she'll know soon enough. Very good. Now it's time to give her the final blow. Marcus decides it's time to confront Elena directly. He asked her to meet him at a cafe, choosing a public place so she couldn't create a dramatic scene. When Elena arrives, she looks haggard. Clearly, the stress of the past few weeks had taken its toll on her. Her skin was pale, her eyes red and swollen, and her once perfect appearance was beginning to show signs of exhaustion. "Thank you for agreeing to see me," Elena said, her voice quivering as she sat down. "There's something I need to tell you," Marcus said directly, without any politeness. "Marcus, first I want to say I'm sorry. I know I hurt you, I hurt the kids. I'd do anything to make it right." "Stop," Marcus interrupted her. "Apologizing doesn't change anything. I asked you here to tell you something you need to know." Elena looked at him confused. "Your company is in the middle of a financial audit," Marcus said calmly, "and they'll soon find out about the funds you misappropriated." Elena's face instantly turned paler. "How do you know?" "I know everything, Elena. Every transfer, every false bill of payment, every dollar of stolen money." I can explain." Elena started to panic. "No explanation is needed. I know you stole for Robert. I know you used our money to finance your affair. I know every lie you've told me and the kids." Elena begins to cry, but Marcus shows no sympathy. "You have 2 choices," he continued. "You can wait to be arrested and face charges of theft and fraud. Or you can voluntarily turn yourself in to the company and the police, admit your crime, and hope for leniency." "Marcus, please," Elena begged. "Think of the children. What will they do if I go to jail?" "You should have thought of the children before you betrayed us," Marcus replied coldly. "And now it's too late." "I'll lose everything," Elena said desperately. "My job, my honor, my freedom." "Yes," Marcus confirmed, "you'll lose everything. Just like you ruined my life." Elena tries to grab Marcus' hand, but he backs away. "Marcus, I love you. I've always loved you. This thing with Robert was a mistake." "No," Marcus shook his head. "Love doesn't do what you do. Love doesn't steal, it doesn't lie, it doesn't betray. You don't love me, Elena. You probably never loved me." Marcus stood up and got ready to leave. "I suggest you contact an attorney today. The company audit will be done tomorrow, and by then it will be too late." "Wait," Elena called out in desperation. "Where's Robert? Will he face charges as well?" Marcus turned and gave her one last look. "Robert is toast. His company went bankrupt, he was sued by multiple women, and his assets were frozen. You chose a loser, Elena. Now both of you are going to pay for your choices." Upon leaving the cafe, Marcus felt a deep sense of satisfaction. The first stage of revenge is complete. Elena will soon face legal consequences, and Robert's life has been completely destroyed. But there's one more person who needs to suffer the consequences: David. That evening, Marcus drove to David's residence. As his older brother, David chose to keep the secret when he learned Elena was cheating on him, a betrayal that may have been the most painful of all. David lives in a small house on the outskirts of the city and is working on a motorcycle in the garage when Marcus arrives. Seeing Marcus, David immediately stopped what he was doing. "Marcus," David said, guilt in his voice, "I've been meaning to get a chance to talk to you." "Now we talk," Marcus said. without any of the brotherly warmth in his voice. David puts down his tools and gestures for Marcus to enter the house. In the simple living room, the two brothers sat down facing each other. "I know you hate me," David began, "and I know I should have told you about Elena." "Not only should you have told me," Marcus interrupted. "You should have stopped her. She's your sister-in-law, David. I'm your brother." "I tried," David argued. "I told her it was wrong, told her it would destroy your family. But you didn't tell me." David lowered his head. "I don't know what to do. I don't want to be the one to break up your marriage." "You're not a saboteur," Marcus said, his voice filled with anger. "Elena is. Robert is. And by keeping it a secret, you became their accomplice." "Marcus, I'm sorry. If I could choose again." "But you can't." Marcus stood up. "The damage is done. The trust is broken." David stood up too, tears in his eyes. "We're brothers, Marcus. It has to mean something." "Meaning what?" Marcus turned to him. "Means you should have been on my side when my wife betrayed me. Means you should be honest when I need you. But you chose her over me." "It's not about choosing her, it's about you." "That's just it," Marcus interrupted. "You chose to protect her secret over me. You've made me live a lie like a fool." David tries to get in close, but Marcus backs away. "We're done, David. As brothers, we're done." "Marcus, please." "No," Marcus said as he walked towards the door. "When you had the chance to do the right thing, you chose the wrong path. Now you must suffer the consequences." "What consequences?" David asked, fear in his voice. Marcus stopped at the door. "You'll lose me and the kids. Forever. You will no longer be their uncle, no longer be my brother. You chose Elena's side, and now you can face the consequences with her." "Marcus, the kids love me." "You can't." "I can. I will," Marcus said, and left David's house, never looking back. Over the next few days, events moved quickly. Elena's firm completed an audit and found over $300,000 in missing funds. The company immediately called the police and Elena was summoned for investigation. Meanwhile, Robert's legal problems were getting worse. In addition to the investor lawsuits, he is also facing a class action lawsuit from his ex-girlfriends accusing him of emotional fraud. To make matters worse, there was evidence that he was involved in money laundering and the FBI began investigating him. Marcus follows these developments closely through Sandra. Each new legal issue, each new accusation, gave him a deep sense of satisfaction. Elena tried to work out a plea deal, Sandra reported at their regular meeting, and her attorney claimed she was Robert's victim and was coerced into participating in the burglary. "That's a lie," Marcus said. "She volunteered for it." "I know, and we have the evidence to prove it. But prosecutors may consider her story, especially if she's willing to testify against Robert." Marcus considered this. If Elena mitigates her crime by testifying against Robert, that's not true justice. She needs to take full responsibility for her actions. "We need to make sure the prosecutor understands the full extent of Elena's guilt," Marcus said. "She's not a victim, she's a co-conspirator." Sandra nods. "I will continue to gather evidence to make sure she gets what she deserves." A week later, Marcus received an unexpected phone call. It's Alexander Voss, the mysterious man behind the curtain. "Mr. Riker," said a mature male voice, "I think we should meet and talk." "Who are you? Why are you spying on my wife?" Marcus asked directly. "It's complicated. I suggest we talk face to face. Tonight at 8 o'clock in the lobby of the Crown Plaza Hotel downtown." "Why should I believe you?" "Because I have the information you need. The complete truth about your wife and Robert Chin, and why I'm going to help you expose them." After the phone hung up, Marcus considered it for a long time. It could be a trap, but he needed to know the full truth. He decides to meet Voss, but will take precautions. That night, Marcus arrived at the hotel early and chose a spot where he could observe the lobby entrance. At 8 o'clock sharp, a tall, elegant middle-aged man walked in. He looks like a successful businessman. Expensive suit, confident gait. Voss walks right up to Marcus, obviously recognizing him. "Mr. Riker, thanks for coming," Voss said, holding out his hand. Marcus didn't shake hands. "Why are you spying on my wife?" Voss smiled and sat down. "Straight to the point, I like it. The simple answer is revenge." "Revenge against whom?" "To Robert Chun. 5 years ago, he ruined my daughter's life. She was his client and became his victim. He seduced her, manipulated her into investing in a bogus program, and then disappeared, taking her money and dignity with him." Marcus is beginning to understand. So you've been looking for an opportunity to get back at him? Yes. I hired private detectives to spy on him, waiting for an opportunity. When I found out he was hitting on your wife, I realized it was the perfect opportunity. You wanted to destroy him, so you destroyed my marriage, Marcus said, anger beginning to rise. Your marriage is ruined, Voss corrected. I'm just making sure you find out the truth. If I hadn't intervened, you might never have known about your wife's betrayal. Marcus had to recognize that. What other things do you know? Voss removed a folder from his briefcase. Your wife's relationship with Robert runs deeper than you think. They plan to flee abroad together and start a new life with the money they stole. Marcus flipped through the files and saw records of overseas bank accounts, applications for fake passports, and airline reservations. Elena and Robert do plan to leave everything behind, including Tommy and Lily. When are they planning to leave? Marcus asked. Next week. Robert knew the legal issues were escalating and he wanted to escape before he was arrested. Marcus felt a new surge of anger. Not only has Elena betrayed him, she's ready to abandon their child. Why are you telling me this? Marcus asked. Because we have a common enemy, Voss said. Robert Chun has ruined both of our lives. Now we can make sure he gets what he deserves. What do you want me to do? Help me make sure they're both arrested. If they escape, justice will not be served. Marcus considered Voss' offer. While he didn't trust the man, they did share a common goal. I'll think about it, Marcus concluded. Don't think about it too long, Voss warned. Their flight is next Wednesday. Time is running out. Back at his apartment, Marcus spends the night thinking about the information Voss provided. The fact that Elena was ready to abandon Tommy and Lily angered him more than any other betrayal. The next morning, Marcus made his decision. He contacted the FBI with evidence of Elena and Robert's plans to flee the country. We'll take care of it, the FBI agent assured him. They won't get away with it. For the next few days, Marcus continued his normal life, taking care of the kids and working as if nothing had happened. But deep down, he was waiting for the end. The following Tuesday night, while Marcus was home watching a movie with his kids, his phone rang. It's Sandra. They were arrested, she reported. Elena and Robert were both arrested at the airport and were about to board a flight to Brazil. Marcus felt a surge of deep satisfaction. What charges are they facing? Elena faces charges of theft, fraud, and attempting to avoid prosecution. Robert faces the same charges, plus money laundering and other financial crimes. It is unlikely that either of them will be granted bail anytime soon. Very well, Marcus said. Thank you, Sandra. After hanging up the phone, Marcus looked at Tommy and Lily who were watching TV on the couch. They don't know that their mother has just been arrested and that she is ready to abandon them. Marcus decided not to tell them the truth for now. They've suffered enough. Over the next few weeks, Elena and Robert's legal case made headlines in the local media. Cases of fraud and betrayal by real estate executives and CFOs have captured the public's attention. Marcus avoided media attention and declined all interview requests. His focus is entirely on rebuilding his and his children's lives. Elena's trial begins in 3 months. Despite her attorney's attempts to portray her as Robert's victim, the evidence presented by prosecutors clearly showed her active involvement. She was sentenced to 3 years in prison without the possibility of parole. Robert has it worse. In addition to the charges related to Elena, he faces multiple other charges of financial crimes. Ultimately, he was sentenced to 10 years in prison. After the trial, Marcus stood outside the courthouse and felt a sense of completion. Elena and Robert both got what they deserved. His plan for revenge has worked. But most importantly, he and the kids can now really start to rebuild their lives. A few months later, Marcus moved to the other side of town, away from the painful memories. He bought a small house with a big backyard where the kids could play. Tommy and Lily are adjusting well. They would occasionally ask about Mom, and Marcus would tell them honestly that Mom had made a mistake and was now suffering the consequences. Their young minds accepted this explanation and focused on building a deeper relationship with their father. Marcus' auto repair business is also booming. He hired more staff and expanded his services. Success gave him a new sense of confidence and purpose. A year later, on Tommy's 9th birthday, Marcus received a letter from prison. It was Elena who wrote it. He hesitated for a long time, but finally opened the letter. Marcus, I know I have no right to write to you, but I need to try. I regret my choices every day. I destroyed our family, hurt you and the kids, and made unforgivable decisions. I'm not looking for forgiveness. I know I got what I deserved. I just want you to know that I realize what I've lost. I lost the best husband in the world, the most wonderful children, and the wonderful life we could have had. Please tell Tommy and Lily that Mommy loves them, even though I'm not qualified to say that. Please take care of yourself. You deserve everything better than what I can give. Elena. Marcus read the letter without any emotional reaction. He tore the letter into pieces and threw it in the trash. The past is the past. He's not going to let Elena's confession get in the way of his life right now. That night, when the kids were asleep, Marcus sat in the backyard and looked at the stars. He remembered the night that changed everything 3 years ago, the mysterious text message, the photos, and everything that followed. Revenge is complete. Elena is serving a prison sentence, and so is Robert. David has disappeared from their lives. All those who betrayed him paid the price. But most importantly, Marcus and his children created a new life. A life based on honesty, love, and mutual respect. Marcus smiles and stands up to go back into the house. Tomorrow is a new day. He has work to do, children to take care of, and life to go on. The shadow of betrayal has dissipated. Now, there is only the future. That's the end of today's story. For more captivating tales, hit subscribe and never miss an episode.